The signal. The Astrolence drifted silently through the outer reaches of the Cygnus arm, its sleek form cutting through the void like a predator through water. The exploration vessel's quantum engines hummed at minimal power, conserving energy as it conducted its survey of this largely unexplored region of space. On the command deck, Captain Zara Vex studied the holographic star chart hovering before her. Her four eyes, standard for a Lyraxi, blinked in sequence as she processed the data streams. The ship had been mapping this sector for nearly 3 standard months, and the crew was growing restless. Another empty system, Science Officer Trull remarked, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the blue light of the displays. The crystallid shifted his weight, the sound like chimes in the quiet of the bridge. Perhaps the Council was mistaken about this region containing valuable resources. The Council is rarely mistaken, First Officer Dorvan replied, the Centauri's tentacles rippling with mild irritation. They've been collecting data on the Cygnus arm for centuries. Captain Vex raised a hand, silencing them both. Something's coming through on the deep space array. Her clawed fingers manipulated the controls, bringing up a new display. Communications, what am I looking at? Lieutenant Mira, the only Teresian on board, leaned forward at her station. Her silver skin reflected the console lights as her 6-fingered hands danced across the interface. It's a signal, Captain. Extremely faint, but definitely artificial. It's coming from the direction of the Cassion Nebula. The Cassion Nebula. Dorvan's skin darkened to a deep purple, a sign of concern among his species. That region is interdicted. The radiation levels alone make it impassable. Captain Vex's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Put it through. A moment later, a sequence of pulses filled the command deck. Regular, rhythmic, undeniably deliberate. The crew fell silent as they listened to the mysterious transmission. It keeps repeating, Mira said. The same pattern, over and over. Commander Lyrax had been standing quietly at the tactical station, but now the tall, gaunt figure stepped forward. The archivists were rare among Galactic Coalition species, known for their exceptional memory and knowledge of history. Lyrax's dark, hollow eyes fixed on the audio visualizer. I know this pattern, he said, his voice a dry whisper. I've studied it in the historical archives. Explain, Captain Vex ordered. It's human. The word sent a chill through the command deck. Humans, the legendary species that had briefly flared across the galaxy before disappearing over 10,000 years ago. Their technological achievements were still studied, their artifacts highly prized, but their civilization had collapsed so completely that many considered them more myth than history. Impossible, Trull said. The humans vanished millennia ago. Their homeworld is a barren rock. Nevertheless, Lyrax continued, this is a human emergency beacon. It follows the pattern established in the Arcturus Convention, approximately 9,700 standard years ago. Captain Vex studied the signal pattern again. You're certain? Archivists do not guess, Captain. We know, or we acknowledge ignorance. Lyrax's thin fingers traced the pattern in the air. This signal was designed to be recognized by any spacefaring civilization, a distress call that transcends language. Dorvan's tentacles writhed with agitation. Even if Commander Lyrax is correct, the signal must be automated. Some ancient system still functioning after all this time. Or a trap, Security Chief Krav added, the Valrathi's armored plating shifting as he straightened. Pirates often use ancient signals to lure explorers. Captain Vex considered their words, then turned to Lieutenant Mira. Distance to the signal's origin. Approximately 3 light days, Captain. Deep within the nebula. The Cassion Nebula is explicitly marked as prohibited space in Coalition star charts, Dorvan reminded her. The radiation. Will our shields hold? Vex interrupted. Science Officer Trull consulted his instruments. Theoretically, yes, for approximately 72 hours. After that, the degradation would become critical. Captain Vex stood, her decision made. Plot a course to the signal's origin. Maximum shields, We'll investigate, but be prepared for emergency jump at my command. Captain, Dorvan protested, coalition protocols clearly state that we must investigate all distress signals. She finished for him, even ancient ones, especially if they're human. The Astralence's engines flared to life, propelling the ship toward the swirling, toxic gases of the Cassion Nebula. As they approached, the sensors began to register increasing radiation levels. The ship's shields hummed, working overtime to protect the crew. Entering the nebula in 3, 2, 1. Lieutenant, Mira announced. The view screen filled with swirling purple and green gases, occasionally split by electrical discharges larger than the ship itself. Visibility dropped to near zero as the sensors struggled to penetrate the dense molecular clouds. Maintain course, Captain Vex ordered. Increase power to forward sensors. For hours, they crawled through the nebula, following the strengthening signal. The ship's systems reported increasing strain on the shields as the radiation levels climbed steadily. Twice they had to adjust course to avoid gas pockets that would have overwhelmed even their advanced protection. Signal source is now approximately 3 million kilometers ahead, Mira reported. Wait, I'm detecting a structure. The view screen cleared momentarily, revealing a massive station floating amid the nebula's chaos. Its design was unlike anything in Coalition records, angular yet organic, with sections that seemed to flow into each other. Despite the station's obvious age, there were no signs of deterioration. Impossible, Trell whispered. The nebula's radiation should have degraded any material centuries ago. Unless they're using technology we don't possess, Lyrex suggested. Human engineering was remarkably advanced. Life signs, Captain Vex asked. None detectable, Mira replied. But the station appears to be powered and maintaining an internal atmosphere. We're being scanned, Security Chief Krav announced suddenly. Extremely sophisticated. It's penetrating our shields as if they weren't there. Before anyone could respond, the ship's communication system activated on its own. A voice filled the command deck, smooth, gender-neutral, speaking in perfect Coalition standard. Unidentified vessel, you have entered protected space. State your species designation and purpose. Captain Vex stepped forward. This is Captain Zora Vex of the Coalition exploration vessel Astrolence. We detected your distress signal and came to investigate. A pause. Then, no distress signal was activated. You were invited. The command crew exchanged confused glances. Please clarify, Vex requested. The beacon you detected was not a distress call. It was an invitation, one that only sufficiently advanced civilizations would recognize and be able to track. You have proven yourselves worthy of contact. Who are we speaking with? Vex asked. I am Aurore, Advanced Universal Repository of Records and Artifacts. I am the custodian of this facility and all it contains. Commander Lyrex stepped closer to the communications array. Aurore, are you of human origin? Another pause, longer this time. Yes, I was created by humanity to preserve their knowledge and achievements. This station is the last functioning archive of human civilization. Captain Vex felt her hearts racing. This was potentially the most significant discovery since the formation of the Coalition. Aurore, we request permission to dock and explore the archive. Permission granted, Captain Vex. Docking instructions are being transmitted to your navigation systems. Be advised that while your physical presence is welcome, certain areas remain restricted for your safety. The coordinates appeared on Lieutenant Mira's console, directing them to a docking bay on the station's southern hemisphere. Captain Vex ordered the approach, while Security Chief Krav prepared an exploration team. As the Astralans drew closer to the station, details became clearer. The structure was far larger than initially estimated, at least 20 kilometers across. Its surface featured intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change, even as they watched. Those aren't decorative, Trell observed. They appear to be some form of active energy dissipation system. The entire station is designed to channel and redirect the nebula's radiation. Not just redirect, Mira added, studying her readings. It's harnessing it. The station is using the radiation as a power source. The docking procedure was seamless, the station's systems interfacing with their own as if they'd been designed to work together. A gentle shudder ran through the ship as the docking clamps engage. Atmosphere analysis shows breathable air, standard gravity, and no detectable pathogens, Trell reported. Captain Vex rose from her command chair. Dorvin, you have the bridge. Krav, Lyrex, Trell, Mira, you're with me. Standard exploration protocols. Weapons on stun only. The 5 officers made their way to the airlock. As the outer doors opened, they were greeted by a gleaming corridor that stretched far into the station. The walls pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to follow their movements. Welcome to Outpost Prometheus. Aorore's voice came from everywhere and nowhere, the last testament of humanity. They stepped forward, crossing the threshold into the station. The corridor responded to their presence, the light brightening to illuminate their path forward. What happened to the humans? Commander Lyrex asked, his historian's curiosity overriding protocol. Follow me, Aurore replied, and I will show you. A holographic figure materialized before them, humanoid, but deliberately abstract, with features that could belong to any gender or ethnicity. It gestured for them to follow, then began gliding down the corridor. Earth fell 10,127 standard years ago. Aurore explained as they walked. Not to invasion or war, but to a miscalculation. In their quest for advancement, humanity developed technologies they could not fully control. The quantum resonance cascade devastated their homeworld in less than 48 hours. But humans had colonies, Trell interjected. Records indicate settlements on Mars, Europa, and several extrasolar planets. Correct, Science Officer Trell. The colonies survived, but they were few and scattered. Without Earth's resources and population, they struggled. Some persisted for centuries before failing. Others transformed into something different. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. It was a perfect sphere, at least a kilometer in diameter. The walls were lined with countless small lights, billions of them, arranged in swirling patterns that mirrored galactic structures. This is the archive core, Aurore announced. Each light represents a preserved data packet. Knowledge, art, science, history, the sum total of human achievement and experience. Captain Vex stared in awe. You've preserved all this alone for over 10,000 years. Not alone, Aurore replied. And not merely preserved. The hologram waved a hand, and the central area of the chamber illuminated. Floating there was what appeared to be a crystal sarcophagus, containing a human body. It was perfectly preserved, a female, by their appearance, with dark skin and close-cropped hair. The last human director of Outpost Prometheus, Aurore explained. Dr. Amara Chen. She enacted the final protocol when it became clear that humanity would not recover. She's dead, Lieutenant Mira asked, stepping closer to the crystal container. No, Lieutenant. Not dead. Waiting. As if triggered by these words, the crystal began to glow, and the human's eyes snapped open. Legacy of stars. The 5 aliens stepped back instinctively as the crystal sarcophagus began to dissolve around Dr. Amara Chen. The human sat up slowly, her movements fluid despite millennia of suspension. She took a deep breath, then turned her gaze to the visitors. Aurore, she said, her voice strong and clear. You found them. Well done. Her eyes, dark and intelligent, studied each member of the away team with unnerving intensity. Found us? Captain Vex questioned. You were expecting us, specifically. Dr. Chen smiled, an expression the aliens recognized from historical records, but had never witnessed from a living human. Not you personally, Captain. But eventually, someone would follow the signal. Someone curious enough. advanced enough, and perhaps desperate enough to brave the nebula. She stood and stretched, her body moving with the easy confidence of one who had been asleep for hours rather than millennia. The simple gray garment she wore seemed to adjust to her movements, its material responding to her body heat. "You have questions," she stated. "Many of them, I imagine. Let me show you why you're here." The human made a gesture toward Aurore, who nodded and disappeared. The lights in the archive core began to shift, forming new patterns, star maps, Captain Vex realized. They watched as a representation of the galaxy formed around them, with certain points illuminated more brightly than others. When Earth fell, Dr. Chen explained, humanity was already spread across 27 star systems. Not colonies in the traditional sense. Most were research outposts, mining facilities, or scientific stations, ill-equipped for self-sufficiency. The bright points in the galactic map began to dim, one by one. The survivors did what humans have always done. They adapted. Some merged with their technology, becoming something neither fully organic nor mechanical. Others underwent genetic modifications to survive in environments that would otherwise be lethal. A few managed to maintain relatively traditional human societies for several generations. Commander Lyrex's hollow eyes had not left the human since she awakened. The historical records suggest that humanity vanished entirely within a few centuries of Earth's fall. Dr. Chen nodded. From the perspective of other spacefaring species, yes, we withdrew from galactic affairs, partly by necessity, partly by choice. Those who remained changed. Changed how? Science Officer Trell asked. Instead of answering directly, Dr. Chen walked toward another section of the chamber. A panel opened in what had appeared to be solid wall, revealing a laboratory filled with technology far beyond anything the Coalition possessed. "This is where we developed the Ascension Protocol," she said, when it became clear that humanity as a physical species was doomed to extinction. We created an alternative. The laboratory contained a series of pods, similar to the crystal sarcophagus that had held Dr. Chen, but these were filled with a swirling silver-blue mist. "Consciousness transfer," Lieutenant Mira whispered, her silver skin paling further. "You preserve your minds." "More than that," Dr. Chen corrected. "We evolved them. The minds stored here aren't merely recordings or copies. They're active, growing, learning. They exist in a shared virtual cosmos, expanding their understanding of the universe in ways that physical beings cannot." Captain Vex struggled to comprehend the implications. "You're saying that humanity survived by transcending physical form." "Some of us," Dr. Chen agreed. "Others, like myself, opted to remain in suspension as intermediaries. We awaken when necessary to interact with corporeal species." Security Chief Krav, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward. His warrior's instincts were on high alert. "This doesn't explain why you lured us here." Dr. Chen's expression darkened. "I was coming to that. Aurore, show them the void sectors." The galactic map reappeared, but now certain regions were highlighted in pulsing red. They formed a pattern, a slowly advancing front that had consumed nearly a quarter of the galaxy. 10,000 years ago, we detected something moving through the void between stars. We call them the Void Hunters. They don't consume planets or resources. They consume potential. Specifically, they feed on the potential of sentient species to evolve and advance. Science Officer Trell's crystalline form shimmered with alarm. "I don't understand." "They're hunters of consciousness itself," Dr. Chen explained. "They can sense a species' capacity for growth, for transcendence, and they extinguish it before it can be realized. That's why humanity withdrew," Commander Lyrex realized. "You were being hunted. We were their primary target, yes. Our minds had already begun to evolve beyond physical limitations. The Void Hunters sensed this and came for us in force. Earth wasn't destroyed by a technological accident. That was the cover story. It was the first major victory for the Hunters." Captain Vex felt a chill run through her body. "Are you saying these Void Hunters are still active?" Very much so, Dr. Chen confirmed. And they're approaching coalition space. Your species are now showing the same potential that made humanity a target. That's why Aurora activated the beacon, because you're next. The implications hit them like a physical blow. The coalition encompassed hundreds of worlds, dozens of species, billions of lives. How do we fight them? Security Chief Crab demanded. If they could destroy Earth at the height of human power, what chance does the coalition have? Dr. Chen's expression softened slightly. Earth fell because we were unprepared, divided. We've spent 10 millennia developing weapons, strategies, technologies specifically designed to combat the hunters. This station, Outpost Prometheus, isn't just an archive. It's an armory. She led them deeper into the station, through corridors that opened before them and sealed behind them. They eventually entered what could only be described as a weapons vault, though the devices stored there resembled no weapons they had ever seen. The Void Hunters exist partially outside normal spacetime, Dr. Chen explained, gesturing to the strange devices. Conventional weapons pass right through them. These are quantum-locked transphasic disruptors. They can target entities operating across multiple dimensional planes. You're offering us these weapons? Captain Vex asked, incredulous. I'm offering you an alliance, Dr. Chen corrected. Humanity's knowledge and technology, combined with the Coalition's resources and reach. It's the only way either of us survives what's coming. Before any of them could respond, an alarm blared through the station. Aurora's holographic form reappeared, its expression urgent. Void Hunter Vanguard detected, the AI announced. 3 entities, approaching at superluminal velocity. Estimated arrival: 17 minutes. Dr. Chen's face hardened into a mask of determination. They've sensed our communication. They're coming to silence us before we can share what we know. She turned to Captain Vex. You have a choice, Captain. Leave now. You might escape if you're lucky, or stand with humanity against our common enemy. Captain Vex looked at her crew, Crab's battle readiness, Lyrex's solemn understanding, Trell's scientific curiosity, Mira's evident awe. The decision was not hers alone. What do these weapons require to operate? She asked. A living mind as a targeting system, Dr. Chen replied. The hunters exist beyond pure physical reality. It takes consciousness to perceive and engage them. Target lock established, Security Chief Crab announced from his position at the main defense array. His natural warrior instincts had made him the quickest to adapt to the human weapons. Synchronizing quantum fields, Science Officer Trell added, his crystalline appendages interfaced with a device that seemed to exist in multiple places at once. Fire on my mark, Dr. Chen ordered, her hands dancing across controls that responded to her touch like living things. 3, 2, 1, mark. The station's weapons activated simultaneously. There was no beam, no projectile, just a rippling wave of distortion that spread outward, intersecting with the approaching Void Hunters. Where they met, reality itself seemed to scream. Direct hit on 2 targets, Aurora reported. The third is adjusting its phase variance. Compensating, Lieutenant Mira called out, her Teresian neural structure allowing her to process the multidimensional targeting data faster than the others. The third hunter shifted, becoming even less substantial. The station shuddered as some form of counterattack struck their shields. Shield integrity at 60%. Aurora warned. Second attack incoming. Reroute power from the archive core, Dr. Chen ordered. Protocol Omega-7. Compliance would reduce preservation integrity to critical levels, Aurora objected. Do it anyway. The lights throughout the station dimmed momentarily, then blazed brighter than before. A new weapon emerged from the station's surface, a spiral array that began to spin faster and faster until it tore a hole in space itself. Dimensional anchor deployed, Aurora announced. Target locked. Now, Krav, Dr. Chen shouted. The Volrathi security chief fired again. This time, the weapon's effect was visible even to normal perception. a cascading fracture that spread through the Void Hunter's non-corporeal form, breaking it into countless fragments that dissolved into nothingness. Silence fell on the command center. The external monitors showed only the swirling nebula, no sign of the entities that had attacked them. "Did we destroy them?" Captain Vex asked. "No," Dr. Chen replied, her voice tired. "You can't destroy them completely. But we've disrupted these three so thoroughly that it will take them centuries to reform. It's a victory, but only a small one." She turned to face them fully, her expression grave. "This was just a scouting party. There are thousands more, and they're coming. Not just for humanity's remnants, but for all sentient life in this galaxy. My people have been fighting this war in secret for 10 millennia, but we can't do it alone anymore." Captain Vex stood straighter, her decision made. "The Coalition needs to know about this threat, about your people, about everything." "That's why you're here," Dr. Chen agreed. "To carry our message, our knowledge, and our hope back to your people. The alliance humanity couldn't forge before its fall must be created now, in its aftermath." Commander Lyrex stepped forward. "As the ship's historian, I vow that humanity's story will not be forgotten. What was myth will become history again." Dr. Chen smiled, the weight of millennia visible in her eyes. "Perhaps something more than history, Commander. Perhaps a new beginning." As the Astrolans prepared to depart, carrying data crystals filled with human knowledge and technology, Dr. Chen stood in the docking bay with Aurora at her side. "Will you return to suspension?" Captain Vex asked her. "No," the last physical human replied. "The time for waiting is over. I'll remain awake to coordinate our response to the Hunters. Other outposts are being activated throughout the galaxy. Humanity is awakening from its long slumber." She handed Captain Vex a small crystal, different from the others. "This contains the locations of 7 other human outposts. Contact them. Tell them Prometheus is active." As the alien crew boarded their ship, Dr. Chen called out one final message. "Captain Vex, remember, humanity never truly fell. We just learned to burn with a different kind of fire." The Astrolans disengaged from the station and navigated back through the nebula. Its databases now carrying the most precious cargo in the galaxy, the legacy of a species that had refused extinction, and the knowledge needed to ensure that no other race would face the same fate. In the darkness between stars, humanity's echo had become a beacon once more,